Remember old dude from 2019, nice, clean, did me dirtier than laundry? Hey everybody! Welcome to Andsoph Season 2. As you can see, we are in a new studio today, and it is just me for this first episode back. I missed you guys so much, and I'm so excited to be bringing this season back just before Black History Month ends. We literally are one day from Black History Month being over, but Women's History Month is next. So we love that. But thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Sophie Wade, and this is my podcast for ordinary people with extraordinary impact. And today we're going to have some special guests on the episode. It's going to be giving Andsoph history is being made. We've never had virtual podcast guests on, and honestly, Satan has been working against us. The devil has been working against us when trying to record these episodes. It's not even funny. Everything you think is going wrong. So that part of the episode for the video part is going to be a little bit different, but we care about the audio this season. We are prioritizing the audio. So today we're going to be talking about 2025 so far. I don't know about you guys, but this year has been a year for me. I don't know about you, but it's been a year. This year, honestly, has not gone really as expected. We are just going with it each month with every plot twist that comes our way. But I would love to just debrief with you guys what this year has been like. Before we get into everything, we have a special guest coming on to talk about something that had happened before 2025, actually, since I last recorded. And SZA dropped an album, y'all. SZA dropped an album, a deluxe album, and we are about to get into it because if you know me, SZA is my favorite artist. So without further ado, please help me welcome Lamor from Texas, who is tuning in, who is our first guest of Andsoph and the first virtual guest. I hope you guys enjoy. Hi everybody. So I have a special guest, our first guest for Andsoph Season 2, and this is our first virtual guest, which I'm so excited about. Me and Lamor met last year, and so a year later we're recording a podcast together, which is so fun.
Thank you for having me. I've been watching Andsoph for a while, so I'm glad to be here. I'm very excited to be here actually. So
I love that so much. I'm so glad. And I know that we wanted to talk SZA because her album came out actually like towards the end of last year, but I honestly didn't start like really listening to it until like this year. And so we just thought we'd have a little Lana breakdown. For those of you who maybe didn't listen or those of you who listened, we can talk about it. So when you listen to this album, how did you like it or not like it compared to Control and SOS, which is SZA's albums before?
I think I have a newfound like appreciation for SZA because like the timing of when Deluxe came was like it was like 2 years after like SOS and everything. Mm-hmm. And I think too is just like she just put like a lot of like quality work with like just like the audio and everything else, even like the features as well. So I think it was just like interesting timing and just how much like everybody like that loves SZA like been craving like a deluxe, and then she keeps postponing. So yeah, that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
And then compared to Control too, like I've been thinking about this. Control had like a lot of those like background like, you know, like the grandma like towards the end like she just does like a recording of herself or whatever. She's like, that's what I think about Control, and I'm sticking to it. So I always think about that too, and I'm just thank goodness that like she didn't have this for the new album and stuff, because it's just like it was just so long towards like the end and stuff. But yeah, so I think that's what I loved about it.
I love that. And I remember like the day that it came out after we had been waiting for so long, and I didn't know that it was out until you had texted me, and I was just like,
right. You were like,
I'm so glad that we can like bond about SZA, because I'm like, I feel like it always brings me joy to talk about it and her songs and everything. And
yeah.
Yes. And so when you were listening to Lana, was there like a song that you heard that you're like, I wish that if I could send this to my past self, like they would be like, dang, like I'm so glad I listened to this during this stage of life. Like was there like a particular song that stood out to you in that way?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple,
Yeah.
but I think for like a lesson perspective, I think Crybaby was like
Mm,
one where, like, especially in like the beginning verse of like how she would say like if like maybe if the world wouldn't like blame, maybe if she wouldn't blame the world for her faults, like she could evolve.
yeah.
And I would say like for me, like I could easily be for me too of like my past self of just like, oh, I'm like, oh, this happened and I'm blaming like myself, or I'm blaming like other people or like the circumstances of how it happened.
Yeah.
But that key piece of like she desires to evolve, and I'm kind of the same mentality of like, oh, I want to evolve and like move on to the next step in life. I need to know what that would be. It's like you can't grow unless you like end up acknowledging what the issue is and then be
Mm,
able to like overcome that. So
yeah.
I think that was probably like a lesson for myself for that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but then yeah, there are certain like songs too. Even like Drive Two is like a good one too, because I'm like, I like to do night drives. So
Yes.
yeah, and I think I texted you too with like
Mm.
me waiting for like the song because I was like waiting in the parking lot.
Right. Like, girl, put it out.
Yeah. I was like, I'm ready to drive, at night. So I'm like to the song Drive. So
Yeah.
I've been like, I think that is also too is like when you pull up like a slow song and just kind of like process things. I think it's like a good way to, figure out a way to have your own kind of healing too. So
Yeah.
that's what I've kind of thought about those two songs for myself. So
Yeah. Some people, when they're listening to SZA's music, like, they're kind of like, on the surface, it's kind of like giving, like, if you're listening to SZA's music, you're like not healed. And I think
uh-huh.
I've heard that a lot, and I'll be like, what? So I was curious what your perspective is on that. Like, do you believe like it kind of has become like that, or do you feel like you can kind of vibe to it no matter what kind of state you're in, or maybe something? Oops, sorry, or maybe something even in the middle.
Yeah, I think one thing I think with SZA is she has like a very good talent with like she doesn't even have to say like she could say like how she like murder tons of people and stuff, but if she sounds beautiful, like people would just kind of vibe with it and connect with it and stuff.
Yeah.
Like she has like this voice where it like connects to like her inner being, and I think even though like if people don't really go through the same trials as she does, I think people can still be able to just have like be able to like witness like awareness from it, from how she's like talking and like her story, and then
Mm-hmm.
be able to connect to her because I think that's just kind of the soulful part of like what music is about, and I think she
Mm.
touches on that. Um, but yeah, SZA is a person where it's like, especially with Control, like she, like TikTokers, they'll be calling her like she'll be speaking SZAnese, and like you wanna, you wanna understand anything that she's saying,
Yeah.
but it just sounds good,
Mm.
and I think that like when people like listen to her music, it has like just a layer of just like connection and warmth too.
Mm.
And she's like a person too where it's just like she desires to be perceived like in a good way, or like
Yeah.
if she's being perceived in a bad way, like understanding like her opinion of that, and that is that voice that she's projecting in her music compared to just words. So it's like all of that is like in a sum of that. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I feel like that's a beautiful way to put it. And like I agree to like I feel like her like at first like I kind of agreed. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe I'm just like just not fully healed."
Yeah.
Even though I felt like I did, and sometimes I just like to hear like the story that she's telling through it, and I feel like there's little bits and pieces kind of that I can relate to, like maybe not literally,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember like thinking that, like I used to have like this mindset about these type of situations, or like kind of like the core messages of it. Like, you know, Kitchen?
Yeah.
So that song, like, I feel like when I like hear, like, just listening to it, I'd be like, okay, well, this is like a girly who's like going through it. But like when I like really thought about the lyrics, I was like, oh wow, like that's so real. Like thinking about like the good times and kind of dwelling on the good times
Yeah.
versus looking at the overall relationship that you can have with somebody that could actually be toxic. Like I
Yeah.
was just like, wow, and like how it's like just so hard to let go.
Yeah. Have you listened to the song with like Special in her SOS like regular album?
Yeah.
That is a very good song. It kind of touches what you're talking about too. A little bit to what I was saying with just like perception of like how like she wants to be seen or like how she is seen and how she like compares to other people. But I think also she kind of brushes the idea of like self-esteem too and how that like can be damaging or it can be healing. Like I don't know, she kind of goes into both genres, so that's like a good, you know, good song for that.
It has me in my feels all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes on, I'm like, I don't know if I can listen to this today.
Right. It's like a diary to yourself, just like, I wish I was this, I wish it was that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, what is your most favorite song of like all of SZA's songs, and what's your least favorite song?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think my all-time favorite song is Good Days. Like that's one for me that will like it will never get old. Like I feel like I'll always be able to relate to it. And least favorite. Oh, I think I don't think this is my least favorite, but I kind of avoid listening to Special because of how deep it is and how like sometimes like it can like completely change my mood like because of the lyrics. So that's the one that I tend to avoid. But like I don't hate it, but like I probably will be like skipping it most of the time unless it's like one of those days where I'm just like, I wish I was that girl. Like yeah. But that's a great question though. Do you have like an all-time favorite one and like a least favorite one?
Bro, my all-time favorite one is, it's been on my Spotify Wrapped actually, the Open Arms with SZA and Travis Scott. That one is like, it's like that, like her album cover of her like going in like the ocean or something. It's like come to life. It's like you're kind of just kind of reflecting on like other people's like life, stages of life, and like even your own, and like I don't know. That's kind of what my mindset kind of goes for that. And then my least favorite is probably like at like the regular SOS song, like the starter of it, like the little like the beats and stuff, and I'm like I was like, I don't know that I noticed for myself, I'm like that's the song that I tend to skip the most, and like I don't even have it saved like on my Spotify because it's just like an interlude song, so it still kind of counts, but yeah.
I'm so glad we could do this.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
It has. And thank you so much for literally coming up with this idea. Like, as soon as you said it, I was like, yes. And we've never done a virtual interview ever on here, as you can tell. So, but I'm really grateful you could be here tuning in from Texas. Yes. And
this ain't Texas.
No, oh no. For real. Thank you so much, Lamor, for withstanding all the technical difficulties that just happened in that moment. But I am so glad you guys got to hear a little bit of our takes on that. So first, we're just going to talk a little bit about what's happened in 2025. So far, guys, I have been going back to therapy. I was not in therapy during the last season. I don't know if you could tell, but I could. Like, going back and watching the episodes, I feel like they were good, but if I had a therapist, maybe some things would be said, maybe some things wouldn't be said, maybe some things would be said differently. I don't know. But it's giving I went back to therapy. Things have changed. I have changed. Things are changing, guys. And in my next episode, I'm going to be talking all about my experience with that. This year, I have also been in my hosting era, guys. I've been trying to host more with my girl Blair. And honestly, I be overstimulated every single time, guys. I get overstimulated by my own events. I'm trying to work on that. Like, literally, I'll plan and have people over, and then I'll be like, get out, which is not great. But I love hosting, though. I love having people over. It's always so fun. But one thing about me is I'm going to get overstimulated at my own event. But you know what? We're going to work on that this year, guys. We're going to be in our hosting era. This year, I feel like it started off so peaceful. I went to this butterfly grove with Elon, who was on the podcast, which if you haven't watched our episode, please watch it because it's bomb. But it started off so calm. Like, we went to this butterfly grove and then we went to this beach, and it was absolutely beautiful and I loved it, and it was so calming. Such a calming, start to 2025, and I was like, this year is just gonna be so calming. It's gonna be so calming. And I remember being at the butterfly grove and her mom saying something about how the butterflies, like, they have to migrate in order to grow. They have to be willing to move, And I was like, wow, so inspiring. Anyways, this year is gonna be so smooth, so chill. And then the wildfires started as soon as I got back in LA, guys, and you already know how that was. And one thing that I particularly want to talk about, also happy Black History Month. Hey, I feel like the wildfires were so devastating and nobody expected that, and they just kept growing, and there was random ones. A lot of people had anxiety. So many people went through grief and loss, and the way that the community came together was so beautiful and amazing. I've never seen people more united, y'all. I was really like, wow, it was a big reality check for me to see how quickly you could lose everything and how much material things really don't matter. You cannot take them with you when you die, and they can be taken away from you when you're alive at any time. You could lose it and have to start over. And I feel like I just stopped thinking about whatever I was stressing about before this year started, and I was really locked into that. And so it was really devastating to see the damages and how that affected so many people emotionally. But it was really inspiring to see the ways that so many communities came together to help, like Altatina Girls, which I had mentioned on my Instagram, which you don't follow the Instagram, make sure you do so you can stay connected. But on Andsoph's Instagram, I posted about this organization called Altatina Girls, started by a girl named Avery, who's only 14, and she started this whole organization to focus on girls' mental health and just creating another sense of normalcy for them during such a distraught time where they've lost so much. And they offer stuff like makeup stuff, hair products, textured hair products, nice clothes, skincare, and they're working on creating a community center. So if you're interested in helping volunteer or donating, I'll put a link in the bio, I'll put a link down below, but I also have a link in the Andsoph Instagram bio. And then there's also the Dream Center, which is now a disaster relief resource center. They're also still running. They still need volunteers or donations, so I'll put a link below. And that's just ways that we can help. Like, if you don't even have money, you can donate your time when you can, because even though it's not trending to volunteer anymore, they still need volunteers, guys. They still need volunteers. And if not, I think it's great to still create conversations about what that time is like and different ways that we can be supportive of people. It's good to check in on people who went through things within those fires, do our research to hear more about people's stories. And so, yeah. But that was a really scary time, but I'm grateful it's over now. But it definitely was a reality check for me as well. And hopefully for you guys too. So yeah, the wildfires had happened, and after I was checking watch duty like it was social media. I was up at all hours of the night, where's the fires next? Why are they so close? I was checking that religiously. I could not sleep. I had a bag packed, a red duffel bag packed, clothes, essentials ready up in there, and I was ready to go. I was so scared to leave the house anytime, because I was like, what if I leave and then my house is in an evacuation? I was so scared, so terrified, but I'm really grateful that I personally did not have to evacuate at any point. I know some of my friends had to, and that was really scary. I was like, wow, this is real life. This is real life. And I'm so grateful that none of their homes were damaged, but I know not everybody could say the same. And so it's really important to continue to be grateful for what we have and not wait until something like this happens, like disaster strikes, and we're just like now we need to be grateful for everything that we have. Like, what I found really interesting about the wildfires, I know that there was the biggest fires were the Palisades fire, there was the Hughes fire, and then there was the Eaton fire. And I know for the Eaton fire that particular area had a lot of displaced Black families, which I also wanted to shed light on for Black History Month, because that was something I didn't know until I looked it up. So there's a large Black population in Altadena where there has been historical redlining in the past, which is a result of that. And a lot of those families have also had generational wealth that has been passed down of different homes. And with the aftermath of the wildfires and all the families in Altadena, it is going to be harder for Black people to own homes in that area now that a lot of people have had to start over, which is not as easy as one would think, even for the Pacific Palisades fire. So I think that it's really great to continue to educate ourselves on what people are going through and how they're still going to it's going to take a long time to continue to recover. So I hope that we can still pay attention and see what we can do to be supportive and to help, and to at least the least we could do is educate ourselves on what is going on and how that's going to impact people, because I've tried my best to, since LA is my home, and it's been so crazy to see the areas, the beaches I used to go to all the time, that the roads are closed to because there's so much damage, like entire buildings burned down to the ground. While the wildfires were being contained more, that is also when we had an inauguration. So that happened right when the fires were starting to get contained a little more, and I had almost forgot that was happening, I can't lie, in the midst of all the chaos. And when I remembered, I was like, oh. And there was a lot that had happened already after this inauguration, where so many things were changed, so many executive orders were being made, and it was just really scary because things were happening so fast and things were trying to be undone so fast, and it was terrifying. And even the things that didn't directly affect me, I was still terrified, because I have friends and I have friends of friends, and even strangers, I'm terrified for them and their safety if so many things, our rights are being played with over there. So that was extremely scary to see. I can't lie. And so I think that it's very important to continue to stay educated on that as well. If it doesn't directly affect you, I know it's kind of tempting to not, because it's like, okay, what does this have to do with me? Or like, yeah, we dealt with this like in 2016, so we'll be fine. Maybe you'll be fine. Probably, I don't know. Because at this point, everybody's kind of going through it at this point. I know that what has garnered a lot of attention recently has been the DEI initiatives. How many DEI programs have been taken away from workplaces, schools, and universities. And if those organizations are not willing to comply, they can face consequences. And I think that's terrible. That spooks me. Because the job market is already terrible. Like, I'm scared. What? Huh? And my name honestly sounds kind of white, like Sophie Wade. You wouldn't be able to tell that I'm Black, I think. Wade could go either way. Dwayne Wade's... Oh. But Sophie Wade. I feel like that name sounds white, literally. And I'm like, Workplace diversity is everything. It really is. The whole point of having these programs is because so many people are marginalized and they don't get the same opportunities as other people because of discrimination. People who are capable, more than qualified, more than great for whatever opportunity, whatever role, whatever job, whatever school there is. But a lot of those people get overlooked or prejudged because of how they look, because of their background. Something that we can do for this situation as well is to continue to educate ourselves and to talk about it with one another, how it makes us feel, if it makes us feel angry, if it makes us feel confused, if we still don't know where we stand, if it makes us anxious, being able to talk to somebody that we trust about that, being able to do our own research from trusted resources, not just TikTok and Instagram, like trusted resources online, and being able to, if you feel moved to boycott. I think there's literally a boycott going on today as of this podcast being out on this release day, which is the 28th. So there's different boycotts going on. I think that's ways to really make a big statement when I feel like it comes to these things. And it's really sad that this is happening in 2025. But I feel like seeing how quick people are to want to make change is really inspiring and motivating. And so I think that is what's going to sustain our hope. Like, even if the government is making different decisions, seeing the way that people come together to fight for things and are just not willing to accept certain things, I think is really inspiring. But if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I would definitely take your time to look it up. And I think going into this next month, and I think with the podcast, I want to continue to talk about things that I feel like maybe are scary to talk about, maybe controversial, I don't know. But I feel like it's important, and I feel like it'll definitely, my target audience is going to we're all going to be locked in because, baby, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there and be talking about some things that I feel like are very important about morals and not just politics, about humanity. And so I thank you guys for listening. Hold up, Jimmy's gonna come on. Hi guys. So today we have Jimmie as our next guest for the podcast, and I wanted to have you on for this little part because I wanted to talk about the halftime show for the Super Bowl, because I feel like it had a lot of significance for Black History Month, and I feel like a lot of people watched it and kind of had mixed opinions. I feel like you were the best one to discuss this with, because you've been talking about Kendrick Lamar since before I feel like everybody was like, oh my gosh. So I just want to talk a little bit about that, because I feel like it was definitely such a crazy performance, and I feel like it felt like a Jordan Peele, if Jordan Peele directed a halftime show, that's what it would be.
Yeah, I agree. At the beginning of the performance, obviously Uncle Sam, Samuel Jackson, that was cool. I'm not entirely sure what the significance of him being Black, because Uncle Sam is white. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I mean, for me, I feel like it's maybe a possible hint at Jim Crow or something like that. I have no idea, but that's how I took it. And then him just saying that it's the American games, what we're living in. And right now, it's just Kendrick. So he's talking about him living in the American games. And so, or the American dream or something like that. And then he starts off with a whole new verse from that little GNX teaser, which was fire. And then he ends up playing Squabble Up. And then after that, we all know the ghetto part that Uncle Sam was talking about. And I mean, that makes sense. It's too loud, too reckless. And then he plays Humble. And so that's when the imagery starts coming in, because they're making an American flag, and he's standing right in the middle of it, which is showing that America's divided. So I thought that was fire. He then plays DNA, which I'm not sure if there's more significance to that. Like, I don't know, Black culture, like blood. I don't know. I have no idea. But because I'm still to this day, like, still trying to see if there's more.
Yeah.
Because there's like everything means something. Like, it literally. I think there was something like that on the Squabble Up video where it was like like in Latin. I think it meant everything means something. Like, it's so crazy. Once he does that, after that he plays Euphoria, and then which you see in the crowd, it's like wrong way or caution wrong way. And so I think it's just saying like, oh well, you're not going where the government would want you to go. You're not doing what the American dream is saying. You're going it the opposite way. And also, I think it's at the audience, too, because I'm sure the audience was expecting him to play, like, some old bops from T-Pab or Good Kid, Mad City, which he didn't play any of them. Yeah. So I think that was also a shot at that. And then when it starts getting really deep is when he plays Man at the Garden, where it's like you see, I think it's 10 guys. Yeah, there's 10 guys in white behind him. One of them has peekaboo. And they're just like making a beat, and he's rapping and stuff. And so one thing I found out was that at the beginning of GNX and Whacked Out Murals, he says, I lost 16 homies. Or he says 16 to be specific. Like, I lost plenty of friends, 16 to be specific. Yeah. And so one person, they died and they were like, those are his 10 homies that died and passed away. And they're watching over him, making the beat, helping him out as he's moving through life. Yeah. And if you look at the lampposts throughout the show, like, you can especially see it when SZA and Kendrick played together. You can see like there's 6 guys on the lampposts, and I'm so like 16 to be specific. Like, wow. Fire. And so, Uncle Sam says the old cultural cheat code, scorekeeper deduct 1 life. Yeah. Now that part is extremely tough because when he says the cultural cheat code, it's like, oh, well, you're bringing all the homies together. Like, you're starting a revolution. Like, that's, you can't do that. That's unfair. And so scorekeeper deduct 1 life is like killing our leaders. So deduct 1 life from Lamar. Like, obviously he's playing the game, PlayStation, you see the X, but so that, but then there's also the fact that, like, killing off a lot of our leaders, killing off our own people. So that one's like really tough, and it's crazy that, like, you can see that be all hype and stuff, but it's like, dang, that's real life, And then right after that, they play Peekaboo. Not sure if there's more meaning in that one. He says the Sue thing with Drake. SZA comes on, Luther. They play All the Stars. I don't think there was too much meaning to that one, but SZA did her thing, singing her soul out. It was crazy. And then that's when they start to do what Uncle Sam wants. This is what we want. This is cool. Don't mess this up. And right when he says that, it's like, all right, let me bring out the heat. So he says, what's it called? It's a cultural divide. I'm gonna get on the flow. So there's a cultural divide. I'm gonna let people know pretty much that there's a cultural divide. And then he says, 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. We're owed that 40 acres and a mule. We didn't forget. We still are owed that. We never got that. And then they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. So that goes with, I think that goes for 2 things. Like, culturally, like, you can't rig the game. Like, you can't make it so that y'all win and we lose. Like, you can't fake influence. You can't fake the truth from coming out. And then also on the fact where, like, industry-wise with music, I think Kendrick is also saying, like, tried to rig the game. Like, people were talking about New Orleans, Lil Wayne coming on. But you can't fake influence. You can't fake what I'm doing. Like, this is real. You know what I'm saying? He's put so much work and effort into this, and he's a true artist. Yeah. So you can't stop that. And then, I started going dummy. Not like us, everybody goes crazy. Everybody singing A minor, and then mustard, and then yeah, that was pretty much it. Like I mean, that's what I got from it, and then it was Game Over. I think that's just hitting on Drake, and then Game Over.
Yeah.
PlayStation. So I'm sure there's probably more stuff, but I know that's what I got from it. I think the Man at the Garden part and the Ducks One Life was definitely the biggest part for me.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, dang, like, you know, that's real life. But I appreciate Kendrick for doing something like that for us. And you know, I'm Black History Month, so he didn't make it about himself.
Yeah.
He made it about the culture when he could have made it about himself. So
yeah, when you first watch it, like, you can't catch like all those little things, but like if you go back and watch it, you'll be like, dang, like it's much deeper than just like a performance for the halftime. And I love that you were able to break it down from the beginning to the end, because I knew that I was like I could try, but I don't think anybody's gonna take me seriously. I just be talking about like SZA. I'd be like, anyways, yeah, SZA did good. Like,
I think I find it really cool because I'm a substitute teacher, and so I've been subbing at some schools and stuff, and it's really cool to see how deep in the bag they're going for Black History Month, like reminding people about certain stars or certain models and inspirations.
Yeah.
Like I think forgot who they shouted out, but they shouted out a producer that not many people really know about, and I was like, wow, like the fact that they were explaining like his albums that he's done where it's just instrumentals alone. I was like, goodness, like, and this is a school where I didn't expect them to even like dive in hip hop at all. So I think that was really cool. I think, you know, we've been getting a lot of love for sure. Definitely a lot still changes, you know, that needs to be made and things that need to happen, but I think there always will be. But we're making progress for sure.
I feel like that's even something that I could see you doing, like educating like the next generation about like different people that have like paved the way in music or just like even other fields too. But
I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll see what God does. We'll see what he does.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast for this quick little interview, and I'm excited for when you come back and we can do it more like a sit down. I hope you have a good rest of your day at the gym. Thank you.
Pausing.
All right. Bye, Jimmie. Okay, guys, that brings us to the very end of our episode. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Andsoph, and thank you so much to our guest, Lamor tuning in from Texas, and Jimmie tuning in from Santa Clarita. It was such a fun time, and I want to have both of them back here in person in these chairs, guys. We still will be having in-person interviews, so stay tuned for whoever the next guest is. I'm so excited. And thank you so much for listening to what we had to share for Black History Month and 2025 so far. I'm feeling definitely hopeful for us. I think things will get better, and that if we can get through these first 2 months, we can get through anything, y'all. But I'm so grateful for you guys watching, and please expect new episodes every other week. We're going to be having a mix of some solo episodes with just you and I chatting it up, and then other episodes I'll have a friend here or a new friend here to talk about some topics that we love to talk with you guys about. So I'm super excited for that. We also have a guest interest form now. Yes, so exciting. Some of you have already filled it out, and guys, I actually am on top of it. I've been looking at it. We already have had one on the podcast already, even though that wasn't his official like I'm here, like that was just a little sneak peek cameo. Lamar too, like we gotta fly him out, like for real. Like make sure you fill that out. The link will be below to be on the podcast, either on this main platform or our other series or on Instagram. So make sure you fill it out so I can hear from you guys, because I would love to have more of you that actually really do want to speak something on the podcast or have it on your heart. I would love to hear from you to see if we can make something happen together. And yeah. So thanks for watching, and make sure that you subscribe to YouTube and turn your post notifications on, because this is where all of the video versions of the podcast will be out. So if you're listening, make sure you head to YouTube if you want to watch the video version, or if you want to subscribe so you can see when new content comes out. And for those that are on the video version, make sure that you follow Spotcat. I've been talking for a long time, guys. If you're trying to be in the gym like Jimmie, or if you're just taking a walk, if you're doing some work and you want it in the background like Lamor, or if you are trying to just listen, just sit and listen, make sure that you follow our Spotify and Apple Podcast pages that will also be linked below. That's where all the episodes will be posted as well. And make sure you stay connected on Instagram and TikTok for more. Andsoph also will be linked below. A lot of things just went wrong today. That tends to happen when I record, guys, especially the first episode back. And if you would like to binge Andsoph season 1, baby, there will be a link for you to watch our other episodes so you can catch up and get the vibe of Andsoph. And yeah, this is Andsoph Podcast, and I was your host, Sophie Wade. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.